Okay, hi everyone. Let's move the screen a little bit. Let's take a look at problem 17-9. Now this deals with a governmental agency, and we're going to prepare a statement of activities from the information provided. So we have to first look and see what we have here. Well, what do we have? It's the City of Rose, so it's a government agency as of June 30th, 2000 X9. We've got some general expenses, general government of $1,003,000, and then we have expenses for public safety, public works, health and sanitation, culture and recreation. Okay, so we're able to track our expenses by these areas of activity that the city is involved with. Okay, and then there's revenues provided by the general government. There's charges. We've received a grant, so that's going to be some kind of program revenue as well. And then there's charges for services. And perhaps we've got some other information as well. We've had a special item, a gain on sale of unused land. We've had a transfer of government activities to business activities, so we need to take that into consideration. And then we know we wind up with $1,004,000 of net assets in the government activities and $2.5 million. These are beginning of the year net assets. Okay, so with that, let me illustrate how we should prepare our statement of activities. Now, I think what we've got to do is recognize we need to separate government activities from business type activities. Let me slide over here. And then the next thing we need to recognize is what are columns that we should put together on the statement of activities. So we can list expenses different from program revenues. And we know there's a grant, there's a capital grant, and there was charges from services. And then we also want to take a look at the net revenue change in net assets from government agencies, business type activities, or total. Okay, so then what we do is we scan to see, what we had. Okay, and if you look back on the sheet, let's go back to it and I'll look here. We had, general, public safety, public works, health and sanitation, cultural, and interest on long-term debt. Now the water in the sewer system is a business type activity. So is the parking system. Okay? So with that in mind, I think if we slide this over, we can see what our rows should be on our statement of activity. Right? So business type activities has the water and the parking, and those are the primary government activities. And then we had a number of other items. I think we had property tax and sales tax. Yep. We had some investment earnings. We had a special gain, I think. Gain on long-term debt. Let me actually, special gain on the sale of unused land and transfer of government activity. So there's a lot of information. All right, so what do? We go back and we have to figure out where they all go. We've got $1,003,000 of expenses, $240,000, $1,650,000, $450,000, and $60,000. Let's drop those pieces of information in. Okay, and then we also had the $450,000 and $60,000 as our culture and recreation, as well as water and parking sewer. So once we have all of this, we recognize all of the expenses. Okay, so we've accounted for all the expenses in our first column, and we've separated them from business, government, and business. And then really all that's left to do here is to figure out which columns various pieces of information fall under. Okay, now there's the solution. So let's just go back and narrate it a little bit and make sure we understand it. There was a $100,000 charge for service, a $25,000 charge for service, and then there was another $250 charge for service and $200,000. Those are all the charges for services. So we need to list those here under government activities. There was also a $70,000 grant and $150,000 grant. Now, those are operating grants because they told us operating grants. So we're going to show those as a separate column. Now, we didn't have any capital grants, so nothing appears there. As a result, we can net our government activities, right? 1.3 less the charge, 240 less the charge, right? Less the operating grant. So this just becomes a mathematical value based on what you saw for expenses and program revenues. And then we've got to list the business type activities down in this section here. We had some special items. We need to separate them between government activities and business types. Property taxes, sales taxes certainly were government activities. And then we've got some other information there. So really, that's all there is to this problem. Thanks, everyone.